Hello and welcome to my video on the in-depth on the 75336 Inquisitors Transport Scythe. If you do enjoy this video, please subscribe because I might be doing another video on the set and I'll be doing in-depths on the rest of the sets that were revealed a couple of days ago. Starting off with the box art, I think the box art's pretty cool. I think the light blue stripe, which is the same as Black Series, works really well, and in the bottom corner you have Darth Vader and Obi-Wan dueling. My one kind of problem is that Darth Vader's eyes do kind of stand out because they're red, but that's not much of a problem. In the foreground you can see the ship and it looks really nice. And yeah, you can see minifigures in the bottom corner and I'll talk a bit more about them in a minute. And the back of the box is really cool. You can see like it landed with some of the interior opened up to and a bunch of the features, and I'll talk all about those in a few minutes. But the price is £90 or $100 for 924 pieces, and considering the size of the set, that's kind of impressive. But I think the set is hollow, and I might talk a bit more about this at the end of the video or in a separate video. Subscribe for that. And yeah, I do think the set is hollow because you can kind of see, I don't know if you can see it on your screen, but there's like a gap where you can see the stars through the ship, and that just kind of makes it seem less like big, because if it's hollow underneath, it kind of takes away from the whole effect. But anyway, the minifigures do not. It is a massively impressive set of minifigures they've gone with here, especially some of the new molds that they've come out with. Starting off with Obi-Wan, and the Obi-Wan minifigure is really nice in my opinion. I do think they've done this one really well with the blue lightsaber and the blue top. And this will probably go down quite well because it's white, whereas the first couple of episodes of Kenobi, if you've seen them. And his hairpiece works really well as well. It is a really well done minifigure. Albeit I think they should have put some grey in his beard, but it's not like that much of a problem. Then we have the fifth brother Inquisitor, and this is a minifigure that is interesting because it's really different from the previous version. I'll talk a bit more about that in a minute, but it is really nice and accurate. I do think the fifth brother does look kind of weird in the show if you've seen Rebels, the amount of difference between them, but it does look really nice and I do think he works really well. Funny thing is, they messed up his lightsaber and they put the blade like half out of it. I'm guessing this is because it's a computer generated image where they managed to pick like the one broken lightsaber blade. It is kind of weird that they've managed to overlook this, but anyway, you can kind of see it here. This is like, they have the same helmet as the previous version. You can see the previous version looks really different because in Rebels he just does look really different. But he does have the same helmet, but the torso piece is different, which kind of surprised people because I thought LEGO would just kind of cheap out and use the same one again. But they didn't, and I think considering the amount of difference there is, it is quite reasonable. Really, they did get printing on this one, not on the new one, which is kind of disappointing. But next we have Reva, or the third sister, and this one is alright. Like, it's, the minifigure doesn't have as much detail to be put on, so it doesn't really matter as much, but it does look like it's lacking in detail when compared. Lightsaber is the same piece because they weren't going to start making custom hilt pieces for the Inquisitors because they've never done them before. And yeah, the hairpiece, I'm not sure if it's new. I've never seen it before, so it might be. But it is pretty cool the way that they've done this, and it does work really well for the minifigure. And yeah, on to the Grand Inquisitor. This is quite an impressive minifigure, other than a couple of mistakes. My main problem is, if you look at the things on his head, like the right angle thing above his eyes, those really should be red. Like, the way they've done in Kenobi, they've, like, faded his eye ones because they're red in Rebels, and they're grey in this, and it's all kind of annoying because it makes it harder to tell what's what. But anyway, the rest of the minifigure is really cool. I do think the new piece for his torso is really nice. I'll talk a bit more about that in a second. And lightsaber's the same. He does seem to have a wider cloak than Reva, or cape, because it is, like, wider, and I suppose that's accurate in the show, so it is quite impressive they've got that detail in. But yeah, you can see the previous version, it isn't as much as a difference as the fifth brother because it is supposed to be like the same suit. But yeah, it does look pretty cool. The new one I think does look slightly better. And by the way, both of these people have their clips on the back for their lightsaber, which I'll talk a bit more about later. But yeah, it does look like a noticeable upgrade, and I think the main difference from the Rebels ones is the Rebel ones are a lot more light grey, whereas these are dark grey. But The minifigure selection for this set is really impressive. Obviously, it's a 100-point set, so a lot of people would want a couple more minifigures. But considering the detail and like, you'd expect to get like one of these in a set, maybe 3 stormtroopers. But the fact that they put more inquisitors than we've ever gone before in one set is quite impressive, because we've only ever had 2 before. Anyway, on to the set itself. It is quite an impressive set. It is really cool the way they've done this, and it does work really well. The design is really well done. There's a couple of flaws which we'll talk about a bit more in a minute, but you can see in this image it just looks so cool flying. It reminds me a lot of Krennic's shuttle because of the kind of shape, and it's quite similar to that in like just style, but it is quite cool the way they've done it. Like the wings work really well, the front part works really well. Maybe the front part probably should be wider, the ship probably should be slightly wider if it was going to be accurate, but I don't think many people will care considering it looks really impressive anyway. And yeah, the other thing that's really impressive is some of the interior, which you can see here, and I'll show in a minute. But you can see the front part opens up, and you can actually like put the minifigures out or like walk them out, which is better because like Kylo Ren ship, I'm comparing this to a lot of them because it is quite a good like 100-pound set. They had like a ramp, but you can walk the minifigures out of it, which was kind of pointless. But you can see it in landed position as well, and the wings do fold up, which is nice. And you can see the spring load shooters underneath, which is to be expected. And they don't stand out at all on this, so it is quite impressive that they've managed to keep those well hidden. And the interior is quite impressive. It does add to my hollow theory because it's very high, and you can even see a gap, which yeah, probably gonna do a separate video on that. But anyway, you can see here like they have plenty of space inside. There's seats for all 3 of your inquisitors, and the way they've done the seats is there is like a gap. They've got like a seat piece, and they've got a like plate in front of it, so then the inquisitors' lightsabers can fit on their backs behind them. Reva doesn't have this, but that doesn't really matter. And you can see 2 of the lightsaber blades behind the Grand Inquisitor, and they've put like stud spots for all of them, which I don't really think is necessary, but it still looks quite alright. Anyway, the thing is though, you can see the interior better here, and it does look quite impressive for the interior. And I do think the way it all opens up is really nice. Like the ship, really, really good playset, but also really nicely displayed. And yeah, it is quite impressive the way it opens up. But yeah, I do think that you can see quite clearly it's hollow, and it is something that's quite disappointing. But yeah, you can see zoomed in a bit more, you can see the studs behind them a bit better, and like the way I explained about the seats with them being like more forward so they can fit their lightsabers. Nice that they included the panels, which is pretty cool, and the way they made it seem more like at the back like there's an elevator, so it makes it look like there's more interior, which there's not. But anyway, you can see the back of the ship here, and you can see the clips on the back of the Inquisitors' backs, and that looks quite alright. They do stick out a bit, but they work well and the lightsabers in them. And the back is nicely detailed. They did put stickers on it, and it does look really nice, and they've got engines and all. So it is quite impressive the amount of detail they managed to put on this set for only £100 or dollars. And yeah, I see a kid playing with it, and it does look like a really, really good playset. And yeah, this is another thing that kind of proves it's hollow, because you can see the kid's hand basically goes into it, which could be described as a handle feature, but really not actually. But anyway, you can see it here. Comparing it to the real thing, I think it should be wider. That is my main complaint with it. It should be wider, landing gear should be taller, but it is fairly impressive. But the proportions, like the wings, they've got the right size, and it does look really nice. And I think LEGO have a really good amount of detail in it without it being too expensive. And I think they have done this one really well. And yeah, it is a really impressive set. I probably will be buying this, and I would probably recommend buying this set if you like it. And yeah, do hope you have enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.